Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. I really appreciate you being an amazing part of my life and just want to say thank you very much for that. And I'm feeling refreshed and healthy, back on track. Nice 3-day weekend to kind of hit the old reset button in a good way. So we're taking a look here at WIF Hat, seeing what's going on. We're in this ascending type of channel, basically higher lows and parallel highs, obviously depending on the time frame that you look at. And for the most part, in a nice potential breakout situation. So we're going to talk about that and obviously some alternatives as well in case the price were to pull back, what to look for too. But generally speaking, if you don't know this already, WIF Hat is pretty much the only meme coin rather outside of Dogecoin that I invest in. It's more of like a longer term spot hold. I think I'm averaging like the 50 to 60 cent range, pretty heavy. So for the most part at this point, what we're looking for is liquidation, first of all, locally. So locally, 84 cents to $1 is that local area of liquidation from over the weekend. These are basically longs, taking longs with stop losses just under that $1 mark. Okay, so that's there. From a macro perspective, it's also still present between 84 and 91 cents. If we happen to see that level hit, I'd be more than happy to consider adding to my position. But for the most part, I don't foresee that's going to occur, and I'll explain more so why in a moment. But just know that does exist. Second thing to recognize, this also exists, and it's important to recognize too, when you take long positions and you have liquidation delta heavy to the downside, you're kind of going against the grain. So hypothetically, if you do take a long now, just know the odds of success are lower unless we have some pretty amazing chart patterns. We are in a position right now where there's more people shorting than taking longs. And it does make sense considering the range that we're in, and this being a meme coin. Meme coins are heavily shorted in situations like this when Bitcoin is retesting its local high, right? So all that being said, when we take a look at open interest, this is an important thing to recognize because it tells us a lot about where heavy concentrations of resistance and or support are at. Right now, 117 is that area of open interest, telling us that we have a lot more resistance above us than support below us. However, that doesn't mean that the price can't still continue higher. It just means we need added volume to get through that level. I really think that Bitcoin would probably need to run towards 112 to 114 to see that, which is all well and good because that's most likely the case. We have a long position open in the 109K range for Bitcoin. So I'm confident we're probably going to see that. However, just to note, good constellation too, as well as 105 as low as $1 is that heavy area secondary to the resistance here for that point of control, basically that open interest area support below the price. So hypothetically, we got some decent support in this lower range here. Okay, so let's take a look at the weekly and talk about that first. We're still under some key level resistances. You got to recognize 140. We saw a candle wick up there. That was a 5 or 6 week low. Okay, so 140 is going to be the new resistance for us. We come back up to that level. You maybe want to consider securing profits in that area. If we do see 140 soon, I'll probably trim a little bit of my position out there. All right. All that said, though, we're still under the 50-day SMA, but we've been above the 20-day SMA for almost a month now. That's important in the overall spectrum here with continuation higher above 50 in the RSI, money flow index super high. That's a great sign, increased sustainability because of how much volume we're seeing in this range. So these are mostly positive signs here. Yes, you could argue that there's a stochastic swing to the downside. There's some people that are like stochastic, what's the politically correct term for that? It's just somebody that's extremely emotional about the one thing that you don't need to recognize or concern yourself with if other things are conflicting or against that, right? Most things here are telling us we're going to go up versus going down. So don't attach yourself to one thought process of an overextension on a larger time frame. Doesn't make a ton of sense. Yeah, I'm sure in a few months if the price pulls back, you'll be able to say, I told you so, but that doesn't mean anything in the short term. All right, short term, we're still bullish. Daily time frame, we're above all moving averages here minus the 200, which is right there at the 140 range. So bear in mind, 140 is still that resistance for us. Consider securing profits if you're going to be taken along to that range. Okay. Furthermore, too, MACD is diverging. So this is kind of a shift in momentum potential, but stochastic swinging up a little bit here. These are conflicting things that I don't really like to read into. When those two things conflict, it doesn't make a ton of sense to, lean more towards one or the other. All that said, money flow index is pulling back and tapering off on the daily time frame, implying that this little push here may be less sustainable. However, our money flow index, our RSI and our moving averages are looking pretty solid here. We're about to see that shift in momentum. That's usually a very good sign. It's kind of like an early indication that we may be continuing higher. All this is predicated on the fact that Bitcoin doesn't dump on us. Okay, if Bitcoin pulls back super hard, we're going to be in a bad position, or we're likely to see that low $1 range retested. But if we compare, take a look at this chart and look at this most recent pattern. And if you take a look at that and you combine it with Bitcoin, we're seeing significant sustainability in this current price range above that local point of control of 111, leading me to believe that further upside is much more likely. 4-hour time frame, we're also above all moving averages, over 50 on the RSI, stochastic swinging up and MACD converging. This is a good shift in momentum, a good momentous indicator, telling us that Bitcoin maintains 110 to 112, that range that we're in currently. There's a solid chance we go higher here. The only caveat here is if Bitcoin pulls back to 108, 109K, we'll probably see a corrective pullback here to the local low or the local ascending trend of 105 to 110. Okay, so overall, we're looking pretty solid here, and the truth is, hourly's even looking better than most, with the lagging span being free and clear of the price action, price above the cloud, and the conversion line of the baseline. So we've got about like 8 or 9 out of 10 reasons as to why WIF hat should go higher based on the short-term continuation of that 140 resistance. Outside of that, it's really up to Bitcoin. You could flip a coin at this point, no pun intended, and we could see a pullback if Bitcoin does retrace. But outside of something ridiculous like that, which is super common now, WIF hat has more potential or propensity to go higher. That's about all we got there, folks. Thanks again for watching. Make sure if you want to trade WIF hat on a no KYC or VPN required exchange, use the link down below. These guys are phenomenal. We've been using them for 2 years now. Excellent exchange. They offer significant bonuses for my members. So if you use my link to register, you always have these promotions monthly. So check it out. They've been awesome to us. Thanks again. And check out our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord too. I've got playout charts available there for you and a lot of cool stuff kind of going on there. So thanks again for the awesome feedback. Feel free to reach out. We'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thanks again for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.